Chapter 2. The Zoo Share House, 618 Edward Street. I went back to the backpackers that night. The next morning, I went to the uni. That's short for university in Australian English. I felt very excited. I love learning new things, and I wanted to learn about Aboriginal languages. There are lots of them. Mum and Dad lived with the Aborigines in the Northern Territory before I was born. That's in the north of Australia, and lots of Aborigines live there. Mum and Dad told me lots of interesting stories about them when I was young. On my first day of uni, I met all the students, and we talked. We didn't have classes. I met a nice guy, Fabio, from Italy. He spoke English well. "I'm looking for a share house," I told him. We went to the uni cafe and looked at sharehouse ads there.
"Here's a great ad,"
said Fabio. It was for a house with a garden. Only one man lived there.
"I'm looking for a student to live with me,"
said the ad. I called at once. "His name's Bruce, and I'm meeting him tonight," I told Fabio. After uni, I ate dinner at the backpackers. Then I walked to Bruce's house. It was big and beautiful. I knocked on the front door and waited. After some time, Bruce opened the door. He was a 40-year-old man.
"Come in,"
he said. He looked very carefully at my shirt.
"Do you always wear old shirts?"
he asked. Before I could answer, he suddenly said,
"And where did you get those dirty shoes?"
Then he smiled and said,
"Would you like some wine?"
"Do you have Coke or beer?" I asked. He left the room and I sat and waited. There were lots of art books and pictures in the room. When Bruce came back, he had a bottle of wine in his hand. He gave me some, but I didn't drink it.
"What do you think of Picasso's work?"
he asked. "Who's he?" I asked.
"Don't you know?"
he said. He looked angry. "What work do you do?" I asked quickly. I wanted to talk about something different.
"I teach art at the University of Sydney."
Suddenly, he looked at his watch.
"Is that the time?"
he said. He stood up and walked to the door.
"I'm sorry, Chris, but more people are coming to see my house tonight. Don't call me. I can call you,"
he said. He opened the door and I walked out. He didn't like me. Was it because I didn't know much about art? Or I didn't drink wine? Or perhaps he wanted a housemate with more expensive shoes and shirts. That night, Mum called me on my mobile phone.
Hello, Chris. Did you find a share house?
No, I'm staying at the Backpackers tonight again. Can I call you tomorrow? I didn't want to tell Mum about Josh and Addie. The next day, I saw a new ad in the uni cafe.
Looking for a share house? Do you like animals? Please call Cara on 9356 7782.
I thought about my dog, Jake. Perhaps Cara has a dog, I said. That afternoon, I called her. After I left uni, I went to meet her at her house. There, I met her dog, Toby. He was great. Cara knew a lot about animals because she worked at Taronga Park Zoo. Her house was nice, and my room was big.
Well, do you want to move in?
She asked. I moved my things from the Backpackers that night. I played with Toby for some time in the garden. After that, I felt tired, so I went to bed. The next day, I called Mum. I told her my new address. When we finished talking, I ate my breakfast. Suddenly, I felt something on my leg under the table. What was it? I looked under the table. What the? I cried. There, on my leg, was a big lizard. I hate lizards. Cara ran into the room.
What's the matter?
She asked. I looked down at the lizard on my leg. What's that? I cried.
Oh, it's only Bessie. She's a blue-tongue lizard.
Take it away! I cried.
Hey, don't make all that noise. Bessie's afraid now, and all she wanted was to be your friend.
Cara said. She took the lizard in her hands and put it into a box. I ran into my room and closed the door behind me. Then I saw them. There were 2 more lizards on my bed. I took my backpack and all my things and I ran out of the house. From the front door, Cara called,
Chris, come back. Don't be afraid. They're only lizards.
but I couldn't go back.